Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a doozy of a review for you for something that I had never heard of before, something that I've had apparently in this box set of 50 classic horror movies from Mill Creek Entertainment, so you know a lot of it's crap. I'm not going to review everything out of the box set like I originally kind of intended, but as I've worked through the set and kind of looked at this, looked at that, looked at the ratings on IMDb and what I wanted to watch, what sounded good, as I worked through those things, I happened to come across a movie on the next disc that I was about to start, and I had to watch this, just out of respect for two absolute legends, and then even more legends tied on behind the camera I didn't even know about until I looked at it during the movie. So this is a 1963 film called The Terror. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. And you're not going to believe who stars in this. I never knew these two people worked together. Boris Karloff is in it, and Jack Nicholson. What in the hell? I never knew this. I never knew these two worked together. And I was so stoked when I found out about that, when I started the movie up, and I saw the credits, and saw their names pop up one after another. So I was very excited. But this movie must have had so many issues. Apparently it's tied to Roger Corman. Apparently he was a director quite a bit. I'm going to read you off the list because there were like 8 directors, dude. So you're going to love this. Roger Corman was apparently the main director. Francis Ford Coppola directed for 3 or 4 days, according to IMDb. Jack Hale directed for 1 day. Monte Hellman directed for 5 days. Jack Hill, one of the writers of the movie, worked on it, but it doesn't say how long he did his work for. Dennis Jacob, which is, I guess, number 6, he did 1 day of directing, and Jack Nicholson directed on the final day of the movie. At least a little bit, I don't know if it was the full day or what. What in the fuck? So, this was not a very good movie. However, let me tell you this, if you like kind of classic horror movies that feel like they're from the 50s, that kind of, B-movie horror stuff. Not creature features, but, the Boris Karloff kind of shittier movies. You know what I mean? This is not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's got some great atmosphere sometimes. I love the castle that the Baron, Boris Karloff, lives in the movie. The music is not the worst thing ever. This copy for this horror classic set is pretty shitty. Like when it's a black screen, it's bright brown, like shit brown, it's really gross. It's not a very pretty looking film, especially for the transfer onto this, which is probably just a VHS rip. That's what a lot of the Mill Creek Entertainment sets were. But I was pretty interested to see the film after finding out who was in it, and then I hoped it would be better, and it's something that I probably would have turned off if it had not been for Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson being in it. But I guess I'll get to the general plot. Basically, Jack Nicholson is a French soldier of some sort, and they got the time wrong because he didn't come with a white flag. Anyway, so he's walking around on a beach. He apparently got separated from his team somehow, some way. And as he wanders around, he finds a very beautiful young woman who he tries to talk to, and she won't say anything to him, she won't greet him. Eventually she tells him her name, Elaine, and he's pretty infatuated with her. And he tries to follow her, and she just vanishes, right? She goes off into some water and just disappears. Well, then a bird attacks him, a big-ass fucking bird. And he tries to fight the bird, and there has been nothing better in my life than watching Jack Nicholson struggle in a jungle and water trying to punch a bird that keeps flying at him. It was hilarious. Again, if you like these kind of maybe Hammer-style horror movies, this is very much in that ballpark. I'm not a big fan, so that explains why I'm kind of resistant to this movie for the most part, aside from the lead actors, but, you may like it if you're more of a Hammer horror person. So anyway, Jack Nicholson loses consciousness. He wakes up beside an old woman and kind of her, like, I guess a guy that kind of works for her, like a landscaper dude. And mind you, this is like old-timey. I don't know when this movie takes place. It's not the 60s for sure. It's some kind of period piece movie. But Jack Nicholson's walking around in his uniform the whole movie, basically. The old lady was taking care of him, though, and he asks her about the young woman, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And eventually he asks her for directions, or at least her landscaper's directions, to go over to the castle that Boris Karloff, the Baron, lives in, just to ask him about this woman, because he suspects that she may live up in that beautiful, beautiful mansion of a castle. She says no, that there's no one there. The landscaper at one point takes him away and tells him secretly, hey, this is how you get up there, just be careful, I'm not supposed to tell you this stuff. Jack Nicholson thinks that's a little weird, and he goes ahead and he goes up there, right? Meets Boris Karloff, the Baron, and asks him about the woman, and begins to find out more about how this woman may have been dead for 20 years. And that's really all I want to tell you. That's a little too much information, because that's actually probably the first 20 or so minutes of the movie. But there's not a whole lot happening with this movie, story-wise, just like with Hammer movies and a lot of 60s films and 50s movies. It's a big reason why I'm not into the 60s and 70s when it comes to movies, because a lot of the time, with the more exploitative or more horror stuff like this, not a whole lot happens majority of the time, and it's why I don't like those kinds of movies most of the time. I didn't hate this one, though. I thought it was actually pretty cool for what it had to offer. I don't know if it's worth sitting through, even for Jack Nicholson and Boris Karloff. I did it again because of this channel. Otherwise, I would not have done it, I think. I love these two gentlemen. Two of the finest actors in all of Hollywood. Huge Boris Karloff fan. Nicholson I've loved since I was a kid. I just think he's wonderful, man. And he doesn't really have a whole lot to work with here, but you don't really get like that, like that Jack Nicholson eyebrow thing. He doesn't really do that. He doesn't really have a moment where he's like, I want to bash your fucking brains in. Like, he doesn't really do much of that in here. He doesn't even really have his voice. It's almost too high-pitched compared to the smoker's laugh, the emphysema laugh that you're used to Jack Nicholson having from The Shining onward. It's pretty funny thinking about that, but still, it's not really the Jack Nicholson that you know. But he's not bad in here. He's actually trying to put a pretty solid performance overall. The old lady actress, she ain't great. The young woman ghost actress is really, really, really okay. She doesn't have a whole lot of screen time. But it's, at the essence, kind of a ghost story, but kind of not when you get to the ending of it. And that's not really a spoiler, because there's so many other aspects we could talk about supernaturally in the film. It's a weird movie. It's not going to be for everybody. Again, if you don't like Hammer horror style, very slowly paced movies, this movie could have been an hour long. If you don't like that kind of really slow movie, you're probably not going to like this. It's not like a really good Roger Corman flick, like Attack of the Crab Monsters, which I love. I saw, I think it was 2 years ago, and I thought it was phenomenal. I want to buy a copy of it for my collection, because I love it, and it's fucking creepy. But anyway, it's not up to par of something like that. But it was fine for what it was. I don't think the ending's very good. That's just me. I'm not going to tell it to you, but I don't think it's that great. The final shot of the movie is pretty disgustingly gross, and I love that. That's the Corman coming out, even though Nicholson might have been the one to shoot it. I mean, technically not, because they shoot movies out of order, but still. I really liked a lot of things about the film, but it's really kind of bad at the end of the day. It's not really a great film. It has its flaws. Again, the pacing is brutal on the movie. Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson work really well off of each other, but again, I wish it was more of the Nicholson we know later on, facing up against Karloff. It just wasn't, though, But anyway, at the end of the day, Terror, or The Terror, is a public domain film that you don't really hear people talk about. It's in color, not black and white. I actually think this would have benefited more from being in black and white, but I guess they kind of stopped doing that as much in '63. But if I had to rate the film on a 5-star basis out of this box set, I'd probably give the overall quality of the film like a really low rating. But the movie itself, I'd give probably like a 2 out of 5 stars. I don't think I could go a 3, because I don't think it's that engaging. I don't think I would be willing to rewatch it anytime soon, or ever for that matter. I've seen it now. That's all I needed to do. It ain't great, so I don't really recommend it to you. But even so, have you seen The Terror? What do you think about Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson? Did you ever hear about this movie? Did you ever know that these two legends of Hollywood ever worked together? I didn't think they would. I just never thought. I thought Karloff died like, what did he die? Like the 70s? The 80s? Something like that? I was pretty sure it was the 70s. Maybe the late 60s. I don't know. But I never would have thought about these two working together. I knew Nicholson was doing movies like the original Little Shop of Horrors, which I haven't seen. But I didn't think that they could have crossed over. It was kind of bizarre to me finding that out when I started watching this the other day. So anyway, what do you think about the film if you've watched it? Did you take my recommendation off of your type of taste in movies? Did you watch it based on that? I'd love to hear everything you have to say down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.